Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for our audience for continuing to stick in for the episodes that we're shooting and all of the amazing guests that we have on this show. Today, I'm in a lot of alignment with the background and history of our guest. I'm excited to see what he's doing out there in that space, specifically the real estate investing space. Looking forward to your story. Ernest Smith, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you make money.
Well, Mike, I appreciate the jumping on here and having the opportunity to kind of share in the journey. So it's as they say, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? Um, but yeah, so I got it started in real estate in the early 2000s. Went to school for draft design engineering, and essentially how I make money now is primarily fixing and flipping properties. And then now it's kind of segue over like the last year and a half or so into doing more uh, remote, more coaching, more getting into how to, but I utilize wearing those hats. So as the investor, as the general contractor, as the realtor, and it's really being able to help those people that are in those trades as well, really just to be able to be the best version of themselves. So what that looks like, everybody is kind of a hand holding situation, coaching, mentoring them, just helping them kind of evolve better, faster, shrink the bell curve, if you will. So that's primarily where things are gravitating towards. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's perfect. So, who is like an ideal avatar for either your coaching or in your investing world? Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, who is somebody definitely would be a prime candidate, right, for the services that you offer?
sure. Really, I at first I thought it was more of a niche kind of thing. Where is this going to be more of the fix and flip and the buy and hold situation? And that's predominantly who most of the avatars kind of go to, the investor. But over the years, I've kind of always lived life with just kind of a mantra of amaze yourself, like doing something every week that you're scared to do or been wanting to do. Well, I didn't have really a name to what that was until like 2009. I went to go see a speaker at a university, and he had A period, Y period on the board. Went through his 45-minute presentation and comes out and says, "Have you been wondering what this is?" And it's like, well, yeah. And it stood for amaze yourself. And it was at that moment for me that I had like this light bulb went off. I was like, oh, wow. Like I've already kind of lived that mantra of life, but now I had some two words that went to it. And so subsequently with doing the real estate investing, was always, find the next deal, looking for the correct ones to be able to do, putting a process in place. That's very hard to put processes in place because fix and flipping, even though they have the same mechanics, they have the roof, the windows, the doors, like everything's the same. Every single house is different. Even when you got to new construction, I could take the exact same house and replicate it, but 5 years down the road, you put in these long-term tenants or owners, you're going to have a different situation at the back end, right? And so, and people really don't realize what really went into the fix and flip, and they just see the HD TVs, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Hey, this is the glitz and glam. I love this. Let's do it." And then they really fall short. So my biggest part is the avatar would be more of those investors that primarily do the fix and flip and buy and holds, but organically now because I do more speaking and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Um, the amaze yourself, the AY moment, really kind of resonates with a lot of people, both in the kind of the real estate side, personal development side, but really even in corporate America, where those as the employees is how can I do better? What can I do better? What can I do more? Is there something that I can push myself to do? And it's really just giving them the space to be able to share in those moments with people.
Yeah, I love that concept, the amaze yourself. I hadn't really heard of it put in that manner. And
Mhm.
what's really cool about that is like so many people have like limiting beliefs, right? Like that's a big thing I used to coach around is like, why can't you do that? Right? Why? Why? I was just the guy who was always the antagonizer of like, I can't sell 20 homes a year in my first year. I'm like, why not?
Why
Right.
not?
And so it's like, yeah, what the big why not? what is your why to do it, right? If you have a
Yeah,
deep enough why, we've all heard that with Simon Sinek and everything, right? It's always like
correct.
if you get put into a certain situation, you will do Herculean efforts based on the gravity of your why, right? Into that case. So the question is, how big is the gravity of your why as to
Yep.
accomplishing that? So that's really cool. To kind of the amaze yourself is
Yeah.
a nice little morning wake up of like, what can I do today, right? To amaze myself instead of how do I help
Yeah.
somebody, amaze somebody else, but maybe your amaze yourself is through, right? Amazing somebody
Well,
else.
I mean, it
So,
could be really anything, and that's different
yeah.
for everybody, right? But
Hmm.
eventually, what it is that you're showing up for yourself, which
Yeah.
is the most important thing. It's like I talk. It's about like when you go fly on an airplane, they say, "Hey,
Hmm.
in case of emergency, oxygen masks are going to come down. Put yours on first before you use to someone else."
Yep.
And I think so many people don't do that, and I was one of those people that I was like, how can I help you? Well, I was
Hmm.
helping you before helping me, and because of that, there's been a delay in growth, obviously, in
Hmm.
some ways, because I was the yes man. It's like, yes, Ernie could do it, Ernie could do it. um and in some ways it kind of was like, hey, there you go, good boy, but when you really look at it from the professional side, you're doing yourself an injustice. So it's
Yeah.
um but I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I mean, I went skydiving, and I've been in whitewater rafting, did ballroom dancing to Brazilian jiu-jitsu to there's tons and tons of other things, water skiing, playing APA pool. There's just always kind of been a drive for me to try new things, because eventually I knew once I had a family that
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to introduce my kids into any and all of these things and really find out what it is that they gravitated towards. And
Hmm.
then I could sit there and kind of give them a mentor or coach that can help them do that. And then, obviously, if they change it later, then so be it. But I wanted to be able to kind of introduce that to them. And that was really kind of the biggest thing behind it until I understood what A period, Y period was. Amaze yourself. And then it took on a different animal by itself.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Is that general term applies at different levels of your, even your career, I mean, in my 50s now, right? My amaze
Mhm.
yourself is helping other build legacies, right? And things like that. But I would
Mhm.
be broke if I tried to help everybody in my first 20 to 30 years without getting
Yeah.
something in return. But
Yeah.
now today, I'm much in a different financial position. And again, one of my amaze yourself moments, which I'm glad you kind of like use that nomenclature terminology, is like I'm trying to shoot 250 podcasts in 90 days. Why? Because I know it's going to get me to meet and get to know a lot of really cool people. Like I'm going to
Sure.
get amazed on a weekly basis based on meeting a guest and going, oh wow, what an
Yeah.
amazing story, right? Or what an amazing business
Yeah.
model. So
Because
really cool that.
it's never about who it's about who
Right.
knows you, right? So it's
Yeah.
like we were talking a little earlier, so I have a podcast that I do as well. It's Ernest Smith, or Ernest Goes to Network.
Yeah.
And my very first podcast interview was the founder of Reebok.
Oh wow,
Which,
really
if
cool.
I tell you Joe Foster, everybody's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know who Joe Foster is. But I say the founder of Reebok, and everybody's like, really, like the founder of
Yeah.
Reebok? There's, but that one turned into my fifth guy saying yes, because he's like,
Yeah.
if you
Because of
have
that
that
guy,
guy on your
right?
podcast, then I mean, who am I to say no, right? Like, you got a billionaire on your
Exactly.
podcast. Um, so some of that was just a matter of influence of who it is. Like, my first one was the billionaire. I had a
Mhm.
nine-figure, millionaire in there for my second one. I've had the federal comp controller of the federal government that was under three different presidents. He was on
Oh
there.
yeah.
I've had previous NBA Katino Mobley that was
Oh
a
yeah. Hmm.
back in the 76ers and all that days.
Yep.
So I've had some very interesting people that was in there, and it's because of the network of. It was a challenge for myself, first of all, to get out of my local network
Yeah.
and get into much larger networks, which are like
Hmm.
very globally, in
Yep.
some of these cases. And so that was kind of scary. Well, that led into going from like small stages of 40, 50, 80, 100 people to being on some of the largest stages of 1,800 people.
Yep.
There's a huge learning difference between each. But the the story's the same. Like, getting up and being able to share your story, be empathetic about it, just the way to deliver it, being truthful, and and everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And whether it comes from a place of hardship or a place of, hey, my life has been great, that's okay. But people always are looking for some way to be able to connect. And
100%. Yep.
and the more times you are able to share your story, put it out there, again, out of that 1,800 people, I had a bunch of people came up to me afterwards. So I was like, hey, that was great, and da 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 da. But there's really only like 2%, 1% that really has those big takeaway moments. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like that was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
It's going to church on a Sunday, and the sermon happens to be, hits the nail right on the head, and you're like,
Correct.
man, oh man, like it's perfect timing. It's like,
And you never know what that message is, right? Because it's going to hit somebody different in that network, and that's kind of what I've always said is like, you just got to put yourself out there, right? And it's
yeah,
amaze yourself, and that could look different for different people. But for me, it's like, it's the very concept is extraordinary efforts, right? Provide extraordinary results. So what are you doing to amaze yourself through extraordinary efforts, right? And you have to define that. Well, let me ask you, what is the biggest thing you're focused on growing right now?
that's really good. I think really the biggest side for me is continue to grow the coaching. So that's kind of a newer segment,
Okay,
even though I've
cool.
had clients along the way. Some of them I've joined ventured with, others I've just kind of helped them through their projects. But predominantly is just being more centralized that way, because the bigger part for me is to be remote.
Hmm.
Doing the fix and flips, it's very sticks and bricks.
Yep.
It hinders you from being able to go remotely. You really are focused on your project manager doing their thing, or if you don't have a project manager and you're managing, um, how well are you managing? How well are people showing up when you're not there? How quickly can you get the process done? And I've done two different directions with it. I've actually had employees where I had like 18 employees. I was paying out, $75 to $85,000 a month,
Mm.
and then so that's not, on top of what you're paying out. You
Yeah.
have to bring in, 100 and some thousand a month, and but then it's like, hey, you guys over here, you do this and this and blah 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 and this and this, and then you circle back later and you're like, you were supposed to do A, B, and C, and you barely did A. Is like,
A
hurting
lot
Ken.
of managing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so organically something. I hired who I thought was another guy to kind of help grow, and did well with that. Very charismatic and had a lot of things to offer, but ultimately he had a kind of a vindictive kind of mentality with him, and he was trying to overtake the company, and was like,
Yeah.
this is mine. It's like, no. Well, that created a lot of like, tension, and a lot of people left. But it came, I could have looked at it as a failure, but I looked at it as, no, it's just time to pivot.
Yeah.
So then I
Yeah.
started going back into hiring subcontractors. Now,
Mm.
the bad part with that is you're on their timeline. You're not
Hmm.
on, they're not on your timeline. Even though you push it, they're like, oh, I got a flat tire today, or I'm on
Or
another
I got
job.
17 other projects.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I don't have any money to float your stuff. I need a draw. I was like, no, um, and so there's a good blend of both.
Yeah.
But again, it just depends on what it is you're trying to do. And, for me, I think that going forward, it's always been about how do I give back, right? Right. What the
Hmm.
sign says, we rise by lifting others.
Yep.
And that's really kind of the big thing is like, my knowledge, my experience of flipping houses, my experience being a GC, my experience of being a realtor, each one of those things appeals to a lot of people
Hmm.
that are in the investing space. Excuse me. And the biggest part is just being able to share in that knowledge, right? And that's
Yeah.
the largest part. Is I want to send the elevator back down to be able to help those that
Hmm.
want it, need it, looking for it, had some failures, looking at ways to kind of pivot. Those are the opportunities,
And that's what I've always told people, right? Is I'm like, coaches are just invaluable, right?
yeah,
Like you have to have a coach in your life in some capacity. It could be a marriage coach, it could be a spiritual coach, it could be a fitness coach, it could be a business coach, and honestly, it should
all of
be
the above.
multiple, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, yeah, it costs money, but the amount of money that you shortcut in through not having to fail on your own dime, you failed on somebody else's dime, i.e., the coach's
Yeah,
past experience, is just is completely invaluable. But
yeah,
I struggle with so many people that's like, I don't want to float the money on a monthly basis. I'm like, you can't afford not to be honest with you, because you
yeah,
look back over the year and look at the mistakes you could. It's like hiring a good CPA or a mediocre one, right? A CPA might cost me 8 grand, but if he saves me 12 grand in the end, hey, I made up for those differences.
right.
What gives you most leverage in your business right now? Since we're on a leverage podcast, I want to talk a little bit about that. So is it people? Is it software? Is it AI? Talk to me a little bit about how are you implementing leverage into your business?
Very good question. So the largest part about the leverage thing for me is uh, primarily the experience. So
Mhm.
people are usually I was the phone call. Hey Ernie, I have a problem. Got code enforcement. Got something else. Like how do I navigate this? Oops. It's because why? Because I've been there before, right?
Yep.
So then that becomes that. Well, part of that was is just me giving, and eventually is one of those things like, well, it'll come back around, right?
Sure.
That was always the thought, and I never really charged the people, didn't do all those things with it, it's just kind of me giving back. But now it's so leveraging is like I built a very good name around my reputation of what I do in the real estate space locally, and so now it's kind of like leveraging those relationships, and then over the last couple of years, it's getting into these larger networks. It's networking with those people. It's
Hmm.
showing the credibility. It's showing the authority. It's showing, that you understand the numbers. It's not a new thing. You have systems in place where many don't. So it becomes, if they're looking at being an investor, more of a passive investor or a cash investor, um, you have that track record. You have all of to your point, the leverage behind it.
Yep.
And then not only that, but private lenders, hard money
Hmm.
lenders,
Hmm.
the experiences, the knowledge with that gets you into lower interest rates and longer terms and potentially more money. And there's a lot of things that go out of that because of the knowledge and the data that I've done over the years. So
Yep.
that's probably the largest of the leveraging. But then again, it's kind of like the we were talking about earlier about the networks.
Hmm.
The more that I get into out networking, it's not about who I know; it's about who knows me. And so the
Hmm.
more that I get to do that, then I get to leverage those relationships. I get to
Yeah.
follow up with them. The more touches I have with them, then the more front of mind I am to them. And they're like, hey, you know what? You ran into that problem. I got the exact guy that you need to talk to. There you go. And that's usually where you get the referrals from, right? And it's not necessarily asking for the referrals. It's just doing the right things, following up, being the right type of person that you are, and just staying front of mind. Even if you're just calling them up and just saying, "Hey, what's going on? I hadn't talked to you for a while. Want to circle back?" And
And I
yeah,
think that's the that's the balance you have to find eventually is you gotta find ways as the expert, right? And I don't mean to be cold-blooded, but sometimes you have to figure out a way to monetize some of your
all right,
expertise, right? Kind of what
absolutely,
you're alluding to, right? Because once you get out there and you network with enough people and you show your expertise, naturally people are going to gravitate towards that, which is a great thing. But too many people gravitating towards you and you're like, I can't make money because I'm helping so many people, right? And
correct.
so I think there's a lot, like you mentioned, like there's referral opportunities, right? And it's like, okay, I don't want to put my business in front of a relationship that I have, but I think most business owners that I have a relationship with understand.
Yeah.
that there's only so much one can do without, monetizing in some capacity. So that's why affiliate
Right.
marketing's a thing, referrals. I always
Mhm.
appreciated real estate because it's like, hey, my mom calls me in Florida. Who do I help to sell my house? I'm like, perfect. I've got a referral for you, right? And I
Yep.
find the agent that I know, like, and trust that'll take care of my mom, and I monetize it, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think sometimes there's a stigma of you're trying to make money off of me, but at the same time, it's like, well, I can't help everybody for free, or else you
Yeah,
guys will
exactly.
all be successful and I'll be
Well,
broke.
well, that's the thing is like some of the networks, so there's always that saying is like you're either going to, pay with time or you're going to pay with money, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so to get in the right rooms, it's either you're going to keep showing up, and people are going to recognize that you keep showing up. So
Yep.
you're building the likability, you're building the trust, that goes along with it. So that eventually you can potentially do business with them, or you're going to kind of pay to get in those rooms and those spaces, and
Hmm.
then you're going to be in the potentially investing with other people, and
Yep.
then or investing with yourself, and so there are different scenarios with it, but typically it's you're kind of getting into those relationships, you know uh because those people that are in those higher valued rooms,
Hmm.
um, they're not coming to the local stuff as much. I don't have 9-figure millionaires coming into our
Right.
local real estate meetings and those kind of things,
Hmm. Hmm.
but they are when they're going to large networks that are producing A-list celebrities, and
Yes.
like I met Kevin Costner and Mario Lopez, and
Hmm.
Vanilla Ice, and some of these great people. But not only are they great at what they do, a lot of them also did real estate or do real
Hmm.
estate as
Hmm.
well. And so there's a tie-in between those with the business side, and um, really the mergers and acquisitions, the business side is,
Yep.
when we, so because of the leveraging those relationships, I realize where, you only know as much as you know, right? So part of that is just kind of how do we leverage those relationships and move things forward with it. So
100%. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's spot on. What's a lesson that you've learned the hard way?
ugh, um, there's been a lot, maybe,
That's normal for an entrepreneur.
the you know I think the probably one of the hardest ones was going from everybody's talking about building relationships, doing partners, having partners, and I still find it difficult to find partners, really, because
Yeah.
I think I'm so used to wearing the hats, right? Being a solopreneur, wearing all the hats. That is like, no, 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 no one can do better. No one can do it better than I can. But when I look at it, I had the opportunity of interviewing this guy, Adam Coffey. So
Mhm.
Adam's really big into the M&A space, bought and sold 54 different companies with the companies he was CEO for. And so I had the opportunity to go on stage and interview him.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, what is it you do? I said, well, I do real estate. I said, but at that particular time, I was focusing kind of on the general contracting because that did the fix and flips, as well as if I talked to the sellers and I gave them the three options. Hey, we can buy it from you as an investor. We can help you renovate the property for you to sell, or we can help you sell it at retail side as a realtor.
Yep.
So he's like, okay. He goes, let's focus on the one. I said, well, primarily it was the GC. He goes, horrible. Stop doing it. And I was like kick in the gut, MMA fight, and got punched in the face. So I lost my plan. And so it was like, well, why is that bad? He's like, because it's very singular. Like without
Hmm.
you, you have no business. And even though I knew that, like I didn't know that. And then I started looking at it as like, well, there's out of the 3 point something million people that have businesses in the United States, 91% of them make $1 million EBITDA and less.
Yeah.
So you have only 10% of the whole entire population that's doing business that's making over that. And
That's
so when you
the
look at it, it's like most on average people that are business operators are only making the potential 150,000 dollars a year out of their business because
right.
they're very singular. And I was one of them, kind of scenario. So again, it's it's that leverage of that relationship, the
Hmm.
opportunity to get on stage and have that conversation. And mind you, this is in a room full of 400 and something people, kind of deal.
Yep.
And so you're just kind of like this dumbfounded look. But it resonated, right? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a big takeaway. It's like, okay, well, how do I pivot? What do I change?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Everything's about, hearing it and pivoting, right? So many people will fight the advice, right? And be like, that's not true. And they'll just
Yeah.
be like, because they're emotionally tied to, right, to what they built,
It's the
right?
baby,
Or their
right? Like
vision.
this is my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
I've blood, sweat, and tears. I've done it all. Like, no.
100%. Yeah, the flat truth hits you in the face, and you either
Yeah.
say that is the truth, I've got to pivot, or you go like, hey. And again, sometimes the advice may be wrong, right? And so it's always a balance of figuring it out. But,
Yeah.
all right, what's one piece of leverage advice you'd give someone that would help them get to the next level?
Well, you had mentioned kind of AI earlier,
Hmm.
and just in there, and I would say, really with where we are at today, and even though AI has been around for years,
Hmm.
it's been more mainstream over the last, give or take year, right? The Chat
Yeah.
GPT
Hmm.
and now all of these other ones that come out of it. If you're not utilizing the AI,
Yep.
you need to figure out how you can either get someone that is efficient with AI that can help
Hmm.
you build out, help you get some agents, help you kind of do some of the mundane, take off some of these hats, right? And
Yep.
so, me being the type of person I am with Amaze Yourself, I've been on this roller coaster ride of AI learning. And so I've created my own dashboard. I've essentially created 8 or 9 different agents. My
Nice.
sales team, I got my chief of staff, I have an executive assistant, I have my design team, I have my marketing team. Like these are all the agents that are in this dashboard that I've kind of created,
Hmm.
and I know that there are other ones that are out there.
Sure.
For some reason, I just like the pain, the discomfort of learning things. Um, and but that again is like I can either go spend the money to buy a white label product,
Hmm.
and then maybe have to do some things to it to make it my own,
Sure.
um, or I pay someone just to one and done. Here you go. This is what
Hmm.
I'm looking for. Here's thousands of dollars. Create it for me. Do it for me. Whatever. Or I learn it. Right. And
Yep.
so, um, for me, it's leveraging the AI to move things forward. So when I talk about this, I'm having it help me find stages to go speak on. So
Yeah.
I have it going out literally and pulling data from
Yep.
the metaverse, and pulling that in. And then not
Hmm.
only that, but then it runs through stages.
Yep.
All of the emails from my wholesalers, from sellers that come through my email, it scrapes that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It says, hey, these deals came through your email. These ones are worth looking at. These ones are kind of like, but I have a 5-stage process that goes through it. And by stage 5, it's spitting out an LOI
Hmm.
back to the email.
It's so powerful. It's so
Like,
powerful. And then yeah, and then the agents can be reaching out for you to say this is a good opportunity, and I'm going to reach directly out to them for
yeah,
XYZ opportunity. All right, I want to move us into the lightning round real quick.
do it.
We're getting there on time, so let's go. Favorite business book?
Huh. Um, That is a really good one. I'm going to say I have one that I'm staring at. It's Dan Martell. It's Buy Back Your Time,
Oh
which
yeah, my man. That's my
which is
favorite.
which is awesome. Um, if you're and I'll just because I have these right here by me,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you get into the AI Businesses War, that's by one of my mentors, my coach,
Cool.
JT Fox.
Yep.
Um, the ones here, like the exit strategies,
Hmm.
this is Adam Coffey I was talking about. So if
Yep.
you're getting into the mergers and acquisitions, these are great books.
Nice.
I mean, name it. I mean,
I know it's hard just to narrow one, but yeah, I do love Buy Back Your Time. I got like 50 copies here. I usually send those out to our clients and things like that.
yeah,
So I'm 100% on that one. Best purchase under $1,000.
best purchase under $1,000. Man, oh man, I feel like there's a lot of those. I would say probably at this particular point, there's been several packages that maybe I've gone to, like a Mega Success or an Aspire event, so buying tickets for these events, to where I'm going to listen to the speakers, gain some nuggets, maybe have a mentor, or maybe there's someone there that I wanted to meet. Like I had the opportunity to meet Robert Kiyosaki at one, not only that, but I got to play his board game because he was the one
played that one before.
Board game. So I was like, that experience in itself was well worth $1,000. It wasn't that much. It was maybe like $350 or something like that. But just to have that experience,
it's awesome.
There's something about, I was like, hey man, I met Chuck Norris, right? Before he passed. Like I met Chuck Norris, and it was like $150. Like there's a lot of things you could do under $1,000
easily. All day long. All right, last question I have for you, because this is a leverage podcast. Let's what is your Ernie Smith's definition of leverage? How do you define that? If you were the dictionary of Ernie Smith, what would your version be?
It's the largest part is, just what actual leverage is utilizing something that you already have, and then being able to, so in real estate space, I have this asset. This asset has equity in it. I can go to a lender and borrow money against my asset. So I'm leveraging this in order to go get more money to go buy additional properties. So leveraging is really understanding where you're at. So if you don't have an asset, a house or something on the leverage, it's your mind, it's your knowledge, it's understanding.
Could be your sweat equity.
It's the value that you can bring to the table with someone else. That's the leverage side of that is, because a lot of people look at it as, hey, I'm trying to build a relationship with a millionaire or multimillionaire. Well, you're looking at it as, well, I'm not a multimillionaire. Well, what do they need? Well, chances are they probably don't need a whole lot from you, because they've, different from where you're at. But it's trying to find out how you can add value to them. Maybe it's bringing them a connection. Maybe it's, hey, I know Chuck Norris, like, kind of scenario. If I brought that to the table and they could show up to one of these stage presentations, like that's a draw for them. So it just depends on what room you're in and what you're really trying to achieve with it is leveraging. A very long dictionary definition for it, but
Absolutely. No, it's a great definition. So with that, we got to wrap up this show right at about the 30-minute marker. So Ernie, thanks so much for joining us today. That was a lot of great information. As appreciation back to you, if somebody resonates with this particular podcast, they want to reach out and connect with you on your coaching services, or just generally ask questions, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Pretty simple. Ernest Smith Official. So ErnestSmithOfficial.com, they can go in there and on through social media, they can DM me, they can go into the website, they can, there's two options in there. One is for free ebook. The other one is if you wanted a 30-minute session with me, one-on-one, you can book that as well.
Perfect.
So
awesome.
That's really the simplest.
Awesome. And as the audience knows, I always say at the end of my podcast, I am a networker. I have all of these guys and gals information. I learn as much as you do on these shows. So thanks again for showing up for us, bringing it to the table. I don't take it lightly that you guys take time away from your business to do this. So that is so much appreciated. Anyways, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll see our audience on the next episode.
Thanks, Mike.